Hey guys, it's John and Jackie of OpenLove101.com. Welcome to our show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel here by clicking on that link, and also click the blue bell and you'll be notified of our upcoming videos. You can also subscribe to OpenLove101.com, our newsletter, and we'll send you updates on maybe blogs or videos that we have coming out and any other thing that we might have going on.
Yep.
Today, Jackie and I decided we're going to talk a little bit about how to communicate as opposed to getting angry. I think that's,
Yeah.
I think that kind of sums it up. You know, so many times, there have been times in our relationship where maybe Jackie's struggling with something and, or I'm struggling with something, and rather than us having a calm discussion about it, it might start off that way and then it might lead to some bad words.
We get on the escalator and we just go up.
And we have really, you know, between ourselves and through the help of others as well, have really tried to find other ways to communicate better. And it's one thing, it's probably one of the biggest thing I see with couples that are starting in this relationship model. You know, maybe it was an issue with them in their monogamous relationship model, and now they're trying ethical non-monogamy, and more things come up. I mean, things come up that you never would have expected, and they're going to take talking about. It's really important that you guys talk about these things in a loving way. But our old tapes, you know, fears appear internally. And one of the ways I combat my fears sometimes is by getting angry. Maybe Jackie decides she doesn't want to do something because of some fear she's having. Now I'm fearful that, oh shoot, I'm not going to be able to be in a swinger relationship anymore, so I'm going to get mad, as opposed to listening to your fear. And that's how it really starts. And what we have found, and we've spoken to many other couples that have been in the same situation, when you're fighting with your partner or having a little louder discussion with your partner, when fear is involved, it's not going to resolve the issue at all.
No.
And could make it worse.
It could make it, yeah, it could make it worse. Well, it just adds to the plate of things, it just adds to the discussion, right? So you're trying to have the discussion to solve something, but you just keep adding to the plate. You just keep making the plate heavier and heavier and heavier, because now you are not talking about the issue at hand. Now you're bringing up stuff that's happened in the past, or something that happened 15 minutes ago, or something else.
Well, me calling you a name becomes the big issue of the day.
Yeah,
so.
or,
Not that I would ever do that.
But, what I find so interesting about, and hindsight's 20/20, when we get away from something and we become a little more objective about what we're looking at, it's easier to see, oh, well, I can see exactly how that scenario played out the way it played out. Of course we ended up in an argument, or of course we didn't get to the core of what the issue was, because our fear or anger was sitting center stage and we just let it be the star of the show. What's so funny though about our fear and what it ends up creating is typically the opposite of what it is that we are wanting to have happen. So let's say, for instance, that I get in fear about something that John is doing, and I want to talk to him about it, but the more I think about it, or the more it rolls around in my head, and the more my imagination gets to going, I can start to create this wonderful storyline of what is happening. And if I'm just needing comfort from him, but but I've created this storyline so that I'm in fear, I may end up coming to John in anger, when really I'm wanting maybe a hug, but because I'm ticked off now that I'm in anger, and I'm wanting to blame somebody instead of take the responsibility for the emotion that I'm having, it seems easier in the moment to blame John for that, and he can be the product of my anger. What ends up happening is I push what I'm trying to embrace away. And that creates even more issue. Right? Now that thing, that storyline that I had going around in my head, I start to create it. It could have not even been true, but now it doesn't matter because I've pushed that narrative to a point where it's becoming true. I'm in fear that whatever we're doing is creating a distance in us, so what do? I create a distance in us. It's like when you throw something out in the universe, it doesn't differentiate between what it is that you're saying, it just makes whatever you're saying happen. And it's the same kind of narrative. And so if I'm wanting to be held by John, but I'm in fear and I've created a scenario, and instead of welcoming the embrace, I attack with, I can't believe that you wouldn't do this thing. Can't you see that I just want you to hold me? You know, in anger, it's not going to create that breeding ground for people to come together. It's going to create everybody to their corners. You know, let's fix up the bloody face so we can go back out in the ring with our gloves on, and we can, you know, finish the attack. And so it's, when we talk about communication, so much of what's involved in that is being able to be honest about where we are in the moment. And I'm not saying that's easy. I have not perfected that by any means. I can still get into my corner, and I can come out, you know, with my boxing gloves on, thinking that I am super justified in my fear, because our ego has a great way of convincing us that our fear is actually a reality. It's actually something that we need to defend ourselves against, and that can be a whole other video when we start talking about trauma, you know, and how we have steadied ourselves against however we grew up, or against situations that we were faced with in life, and how maybe we're still carrying some of those tools around. But for today, you know, it's about how do we communicate with our partner so that we're getting what it is that we're saying that we want. You know, if I want your embrace, that's what I need to come to you and say. But again, that means coming in vulnerability. And if we're in fear, it's very hard for us to feel vulnerable, because we're on the defense.
Yes.
So it's if it's something that you and your partner can both be conscious of and be aware of, and even just practice it. Even if you just practice it in a situation where you're not in fear, you're not upset, of just, hey, I'm going to say this thing so I can get used to saying it, and you can get used to hearing it, and then we can start to create a habit of what happens after that. You know, I'm in fear, I need a hug. You know, like, oh. So, you know, that right there, that starts to create a muscle memory. And, you know, that's part of working through this. And I think you said this earlier. You know, when you open up your relationship, it can surface some things that are unexpected. And part of that can be like some different situations that are going to really need some communication skills.
Can we practice that again?
I need a hug.
I love you, babe.
I love you too.
She's awesome. And I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about that. It really is a difficult task to do sometimes, to overcome old habits and how we deal with situations that are hard for us to talk about. And so the key is, you know, you're with your best friend when you're doing these things. At least, you know, I am. And if I'm going to talk to anybody about how I'm feeling or what I'm wanting, it should be Jackie. And so, you know, there have been times where we've made it a little bit more difficult to get to that point. But in the end, we realize, you know, this is where it has to happen. This communication between us and the honesty between us is really important as well.
Right.
So hopefully you got something out of that. If you want to talk about topics like this or other things you might be going through, you can go to our Open Love 101 Plus members only site. That's at openlove101.com/members. And we have a community there that you can talk to about issues that you might be going through. You might be able to help other people going through some things that you've experienced. It's all about experiences and sharing those, yes. And we also have some great webinars on there And we have some great things planned for that site. So please check it out and sign up to our email list at openlove101.com, and we will send you a newsletter outlining our blog or our new video we have coming out for that particular week. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.
So, you want to see more of this? Then subscribe by clicking on that.